Here's my hand, foot, mouth timeline for when we went through it in our household. My son was acting irritable and kind of suspicious for like 5 days before he actually got sick. Now, I don't actually know if that was because he was getting sick, teething, or whatnot. On a Saturday is when he got super sick. So he had a 103 fever, was super lethargic, wanted to just sleep throughout the day, didn't want to eat, didn't want to drink, and was just acting not himself. And so that's when we went to urgent care. The next day, a day later, is when his throat started hurting. He would swallow food and he would cry, and it was very unlike him. He was eating, drinking a little bit more at this point. We did have to kind of use a syringe to get some water and electrolytes and stuff in him for, 12 to 24 hours. And then he wanted to eat and drink on his own. From Saturday until I want to say like Wednesday, so a good 3-4 days, he was not sleeping at night. He was miserable. He couldn't sleep, get comfortable. He was up every half hour to hour. And those 3 to 4 days were awful for everybody involved. He was just miserable. It was very sad to see. He was clearly in pain. And yeah, that was like the height of the sickness part for him. I want to say day 2 or 3 for him, he had some little rashes on like his arm and on his upper thigh and places like that. I gave him an Epsom salt bath probably on day like 3 or 4, and I think that really helped to tame the rash part of it. So Wednesday, when he was basically on the mend, that's when I got sick. So a good like 4 or 5 days, 4 days after he fell ill is when I fell ill. This is when I got super bad flu-like symptoms for 2 days. So 2 days I felt just down and out. The headache, the sweats, the fever, couldn't get comfortable, nauseous, didn't want to eat, all that stuff. After 2 days of that is when I started to get the really itchy scalp. So my scalp was itching like crazy, like nothing I've ever experienced. That went on for a good 2 or 3 days. Saturday is when I went to urgent care. So this is 1 week after our son got super sick and had the symptoms. I went to urgent care for my itchy scalp. I was starting to get the rash very minor on my hands. And then within 24 to 48 hours, the rash was crazy. It was like all over my hands. It was a couple places on my face. My feet were burning, and the rash on my feet developed a couple days after that. So then the following Wednesday is when my husband went down, and that's when he got the flu-like symptoms and got super sick. So it seems like every half week somebody else was getting sick. And then same thing with him. He got a rash, but it was more on his face. He was sick for like a good 2 days. The rash developed over a few days. Basically, what I'm going to tell you is you're in it for like 7 to 10 days from like beginning to end. So just call it 2 weeks and it'll be completely over with, which sounds absolutely awful when you're in it. I understand. But the sickness part for us where you actually feel ill was very fast moving. It was very bad. Like those 2 days we felt like we just didn't want to exist. Like it was awful. But then after that, it's really, you're well and you're existing and you can function, but now you have like this rash that just doesn't want to go away. That's the longest part. The rash is like a good week. You're going to have this obnoxious looking rash that you can't hide and that looks terrible and no one wants to touch you. That's the longest part of it. But yes, when you are feeling that way, it does feel like everything is a symptom because, again, for me, I have never had an itchy scalp. It was like I wanted to tear my scalp off. Like I had never had this before. I never had where my fingernails, not the fingers, hurt. Or where it hurt to walk on my heels as if I had been on my feet for 15 hours. So hey, I think everything can be a symptom, but hang in there. It does get better. It really stinks that there's no preventative and no treatment for this. But it does truly just go away on its own, and then it's like you never had it.